Hi, this is Scott from Specter Gear. For today's video, we're once again talking about the Mini-14. In this case, we're going to start talking about some useful accessories for the Mini-14 or upgrades for the Mini-14. Now, when it comes to accessories, my number one recommendation is almost always some type of Specter Gear sling followed by some type of Specter Gear buttstock magazine pouch. Of course, I'm going to make that recommendation. But the next and most useful recommendation slash upgrade that I recommend, particularly on these older pre-2005 Mini-14s. My number one recommendation is an upgrade of the rear sight. The rear sight on the factory, or rather the factory rear sight for the pre-2005 Mini-14 is just awful. It lacks fine adjustment. It has an aperture that is nothing more than just a hole that's a little too small, stamped into, or rather drilled into a piece of stamped sheet metal. The sight is wobbly, it will move, and it doesn't exactly instill you with confidence. And I would say a lot of the complaints regarding Mini-14 accuracy can be attributed directly to that rear sight. Now, there are some other issues, but I think the most effective upgrade you can make to correct the deficiencies related to accuracy would be an upgrading to the rear sight. Now, what we're talking about today is the Tecsite RR200. This is for pre-2005 Mini-14s. Of course, in 2005, Ruger upgraded the Mini-14 and made a number of fundamental changes. In particular, the rear sight was one that they upgraded. Now, Tecsite does make an upgraded rear sight for those guns, but as I understand, the rear sight on the newer model Mini-14s isn't half bad. At least it's not as awful as the ones on the pre-2005 Mini-14s. But just to kind of break this down a little bit, this is a complete upgrade. It replaces the entire rear sight unit, including your windage and elevation adjustments. The entire unit comes out of its recess in the receiver, and it's replaced with this unit. It's heavy duty. It's well made. So kind of break down some of the features of this. Of course, it is adjustable for windage and elevation. Your windage is adjustable via this knob right here, and it gives you 1/2 MOA adjustments. Your elevation is adjusted via this dial right here, and that'll give you a 1 MOA adjustment. Now, of course, the way the adjustments are carried out, they sell a little bitty tool that makes adjusting this a little bit easier, but of course you can just use the tip of a bullet to make that adjustment as well. The windage adjustment, of course, is much easier to carry out. And you can kind of see, by the way, the brass right here, or copper. That's from actually using a bullet tip to make these adjustments. So that little tool can prove to be kind of useful, and I think it's only like $8. It's just like a little spanner wrench that allows you to make that adjustment a little easier. So I kind of recommend it. I'm gonna grab one as soon as I get a chance, but these sights are dialed in pretty nicely as they are. The rear aperture is a .062 aperture, but the apertures are replaceable. There are different optional apertures available for the sight. As you can see, the sight is well protected with wings. It's very solid. It doesn't move or shift in the base at all. One thing you'll note is you might be looking at this thinking what kind of sort of resembles, and well, actually doesn't really resemble an M16 rear sight. But one thing you might be hopeful for is that this would be the flip aperture that the M16 type rear sight affords you, and this does not have that. It's just one single aperture. You don't have the flip or L-shaped type aperture, so you can switch to a larger or smaller one. Now, in terms of the size on the aperture, it's not overly large, not overly small. It falls right into the just right territory. It's not a ghost ring, but it is large enough that it lets in enough light, and it's easy to catch in lower light situations. But like any aperture sight, when it gets to a certain level of darkness, it's effectively useless anyway. And we'll talk more about that in regards to red dots when we talk about this handguard unit, and I'm going to be actually talking about some red dot sight options for this, as well as some low power scope options. But back to rear sights. When it comes to iron sights, like I said, this is an awesome little rear sight, and the most amazing thing I think of all on this is the price. These are currently priced at $65. That's an amazing price in this day and age when pretty much everything seems to start off costing $100 when you're going to bolt it onto a gun. They're price has held pretty steady, and like I said, for $65, this is a fantastic upgrade that's going to improve the inherent accuracy of your carbine, make it easier to shoot. You know, it's not going to make the gun itself shoot any better, but it's going to definitely improve your sighting situation so that you're more consistent from shot to shot, and you should see a little bit of a shrinking of the group just merely by attaching this unit. Again, like I said, we'll talk later about barrel whip and things like that and whether or not that actually is a thing. But for now, I just wanted to do a really quick profile on this this rear sight. Is something that I definitely highly recommend. So this would be the Tecsite RR200 for pre-2005 Mini-14 carbines. And so with that, I'll go ahead and bring it to a close and wish you a wonderful day. So everybody out there be safe. This is Scott from Specter Gear. And as a reminder, if you're interested in some of those Specter Gear slings and buttstock magazine pouches I mentioned earlier, please visit us at www.spectergear.com. Have a wonderful day.